はい、どうも、ルルマークスです。イェイ、ダゴンをね、ずっと前々からね、無料期間で買ってたんですけど、ついにね、やろうと思います。いや、てか、ハロウィンなんでね、やっぱこういうクトゥルフ系のゲームはね、やっぱやりたいなとは思ってたんでね、できてよかったですね。ちょっとじゃあ、まあ、明るさはマックスにしてるんでね、ダゴンは、ラブクラフト作品をストーリーと世界観の焦点を当てた、史実に再現をしたインタラクティブなゲームです。これは難しい選択やアクションもなければ持ち物に管理する制限はまた移動はそうに沿って進むことを制限されます。まあ要するに再現だな。窓にね飛び降りなきゃいけない。ゲームにはインタラクティブな要素が物語が進展する要素など原作探偵背景情報をね配信と知ることもできます。トリピアの中には隠されているものがそれらの秘密を見つけながら集中してみて古き印を探しましょう。なるほどね。まあとりあえずまずは目の前のこれしかないのかな。
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death. まあ、ダゴンっていうか、深きものを見てしまったから、それを忘れるためにモルヒネに走ったって感じですね。ミクチャ君が映ってくれないのやめてほしいんだ。いつもだけど。ちょっと待ってね。ミクチャの方が映ってない。あ、映った。よしよし。じゃあやっていきましょう。はいはい。モルヒネね。はい。モルヒネ逃げよいたかった。はい。病気として知られたモルヒネラインを忘れに。なるほどね。 It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
ああ、商船狙ったんだよね、ドイツは。それでアメリカの怒りを買ったっていうね、エピソードがありますね。
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
はい、フン族来た。南ジェミン大好きなフン族。お前らと気が合いそうやな。はい。知ってる。よし。あとは。ビルヘムの人間性がほんとクソだったかな。
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
はい。特にない。行きますか。
When I finally found myself adrift and free,
漂流した
I
が
had but little idea
自分が
of
どこ
my
にいるか全く
surroundings.
わからない。
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars
敵の南
that
に
I
行くこ
was
とがつい
somewhat
てき
south
た。
of the
それ
equator.
はわかるよね、航海士の人って。
Of the longitude, I knew
100分で
nothing,
も
and no island or coastline was
て
in
か、あの
sight.
辺りだから絶望的じゃね？なんとなく分かった場所は。だけど、絶望的なとこなんだよね。島がね、だってそこって世界一孤立した地域って言われた場所だよ、本当に。
And for uncounted days, I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
水もつきそう。
But neither ship
しかし、
nor land
そりゃ
appeared,
そうだよな、
and I
ここは
began。to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I
なんか
slept. Its details I shall never know. For my slumber,
というの
though
も
troubled and dream infested, was continuous.
おー、おいしい。あー、でもこれ腐ってるからな、こういう。でもここら辺は美味しそうじゃない？ねえ、美味しそうじゃないここ。ちょっとさ、ここからカッて切ってさ、ちょっとジュって茹でて食いたいの。ここら辺落ちてるやつはさ、なんだっけ、漁師の追加報酬みたいな感じで、まあ焼いて食ってたっていう歴史あるんだよね。
It was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see,
と見てましたよ、こん
and
な
in
夢。
which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
食えばいいんじゃな
Though
い？
one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in.
うん。
There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
なるほどね。あ、てか、普通にここら辺うまそうだな。わさび醤油で普通にいただきたい。
The sun was blazing down
ヒラメ
from
もう
the
まそう
sky which seemed to me
縁の
almost
包丁ですよ、
black
縁
in
の
its
包丁。
cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
わさび醤油で普通にいただきたい。
Blazing down from the sky.
うまそうだな。もう三葉虫じゃん。ダゴンは、アーバンド、はいはいはい。だよね。で、ラブクラフトは、だって他のところからの引用多いからね。はいはいはい。さ、だから海鮮物が嫌いだけだからな、ラブクラフトの。三葉虫だな。まあ実際タコとかイカは宇宙人説あるからね。人かっていうのはあれだけ
As
ど。
I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden and so great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
ヒラメを調べる。トリビアは特にない。
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
よいしょ。日陰を与えてくれた。
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
なるほどね。
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible
そう
rescue.
だな。本当にここら辺食いてえわ。うねうね。
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
もううねうねしてるやつはいない。みんな死ん
The
じゃった
odor。of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for
お
an
前好奇心ほん
unknown
と強い
goal.
ね。主人公は。
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
おお。クジラ。カニか。なんだと思った。クジラはね、好きだよ。カニは嫌いだけど。
That night I
よいしょ。
encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I
結構
had
近づいて
first
るけどね。
espied
これ
it.
なんだろう。もうここら辺あれだよな。幸せ物かな。見るわ。クトーニアは水が嫌いだから違うだろうし。お。はい。そうだね。いや、そうだね。よいしょ。よいしょ。まあ、ラブガードは科学信者だからね。仮に生きていけとしたらこんな形状だろうって言ったのは多分似通ったんでしょう。
By the fourth evening, I
ただ
attained the base of the mound,
深海魚普通
which
に
turned out
食わ
to
れ
be
てたけど、ア
much
メリカで
higher
食われて
than
ないか
it
ら知られ
had
てなかっ
appeared
ただ
from
け
a
だけど。
distance.
まあ、ラブガードのことだから知ってたとは思うけどね、その気持ち悪いみたいな。
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the
ギボス
eastern
ムーンって言ってる
plain,
よ。
I
Gibbos
was
ってなん
awake
だ
in a cold perspiration,
ギボン。
determined to sleep no more.
はい。
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon,
Yes.
I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching
Okay,
sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
そうだね。
Indeed,
夜。
I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence. I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world,
いや、世界の果てよ、ここは。
peering over the rim into a fathomless
深淵を
chaos
覗
of
くとき、
eternal
それはすごく
night.
深い。
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
作っていた。
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
丘から谷へと移動します。
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood
ダ
on
ゴン
the
は短編だから
gentlest
読みやすい
ledge,
方なんだよね。
gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
モノリスの人々っていうシナリオがありましたね。まあ、あれはクソだけど、ひたすら本当に読み上げるだけだからな。ヨーストトースのおかげの外伝ですね、モノリスの人々。
It was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
トリビア特になくない？トリビアが割と楽しみな節あるよ、この
For
ゲーム。
despite its enormous magnitude
はい。
and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monster whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight.
ない本当にトリビア。E とかついて、ラブクラフト付きはかなり親和性高いけど。神話とメソウスとファインドの親和性をかけたってことを
shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
モノリスだ。すっごいモノリスだ。
And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope.
川なのか。ああ。
Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
クトゥルフがいる。
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopus. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world.
タコじゃね。でも大体タコじゃね。
But whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
でも大体現実に見覚えになるよ、タコだし。ミノカサゴとかさ。はい。 ダゴンに多くのテーマを物語る。力を物語る。ラブグラフは高貴な作品に進化させたものである。イカをあげる。何らかの責任などを通して物語を語る。そうだね。ダゴンのこれがまさにそうだよな。海からカピラカ島は、まあこれは、日記やキャラクターのメモ、それもダゴンだよね。景色だね。連れていくことは支援もついたフィクションの生き物。そうだろうか。あれはまあ、ミゴを追ってったらって感じだけど、また。アクトの他の小説いくつかにダゴンと同じような方法で集結する。そうだね。
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. The creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
なるほどね。
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
おお、なかなかだ。いいんじゃないか。可愛らしいじゃないか。
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
進むことしかできない。
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
どれお、怪しい水の音。
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
シューティングゲームのボスみたいな感じでダゴンが出た。若干ジャックハンマー味ありません？ありませんこいつ。なんかジャックハンマーとか釈迦様がなんかタックルしてきてる感じなんだけど。なんか若干。顔がでもガグみたいな感じだったな。
Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat.
すっげえ歪んでる。
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital. brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
アマチュアジャーナリズムで、はいはい。成功に勝ちは、そうだな、ラブグラフトはタグ。そのせいで詩を書くのをやめるという決断に至り、そうだな。地球でラブグラフトか。どうなんだろう。正気の人間が世界平和の可能性を信じることができる理由は、おっしゃには理解できない。本当？解除を同意した場合、間違いなく複数の国が兵器を密かに放置し、適切な時期により利他的であまり機敏でない国が利用して、そうだな。その基本的な行動が奇跡的に変化するまで、どの国も戦争を起こさないという。そうそうそう。それはそうよ。てかアメリカニズムだな、すごい。でもさ、ウィーン体制って一番うまくいった時期なんだよね、世界平和なんだかんで。私は。
And amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
この粘土板は君が作ったのか？イースリー教授ダイゴンはギリシャ人の神殿。そうだよな。そもそもだって、だからラブクラフト自体がいろいろなとこが神話引っ張ってきて、クトゥルフ神話っていうのはいろいろな神話の融合系でしかないんだよね。そう。誤った名前の解釈にダゴンは、特徴も緻密な水中の神である。秘密教団秘密教団っていう名前普通にあそこにあるぜって言い秘密教団、あ、ちょっとここって書かれてるぐらいの全然秘密じゃない秘密教団じゃん。
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
お、誰好きだ、誰好き。そうそうそうそうそうそうそうそう。ガツガツロードの。敵は最も問題がある決断の一つで。のである。誰ですね。そうそうそうそう。VR でやりたかったな。トリビアを一気に回収するつもりだろう、ここで。え？出るの？そうだね。
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written the full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
タバコは嫌いだった。 はいはいはい。だよな。そう、酒はあんまりうまくねえからな。そうそうそう。似てるな。
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny warriors. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
タコの主君なんだ。さあ。
The end is near.
The end is near.
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
あ、窓に。
God, that hand!
ああ、あの手は。安っぽい。
The window! The window!
窓に。早く飛び降りろよ。待機できるのかな。ダゴンと握手。ダゴンじゃないけど、多分深きものだけど。深きものと握手。I can fly. Good job. はい。なかなか良かったね。DLC はあれなんでね。BGM 集だっけ確か。あ、全然回収してね。
I hear a noise at the door. It shall not find me. God, that hand! The window! The window!
握手。トリビア全然回収してないんだけど。
am writing this.
あった。よしよしよしよし。手紙に関しては渡さないところである。
Penniless, and at the end of my... Do not think from my slavery to morph. When you... It was in one of the most open...
終わった。ST ジョンか。
The great... So liberal. When I finally found myself, never of the...
僕にない。
The weather kept fair.
お。そのダゴンは、17年に書かれ、19年にアマチュアとして出版された。
But neither ship. The change. It's. When at last, and in though, for there, the region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other. Perhaps. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very... As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some...
おお時の火山島にの島が使うことがある。本当に地理が待ち場としての強い。はいはい。これ今、軽石が沖縄までついてるね。タイムリーじゃないか。
That night. On the third morning. All day I forged
なんもない。
That night,
海の恐怖。あ、はいはい。これはいい。
by the fourth eve, and into 2 weeks. I know not what, but I was a so, and in without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed,
よし。
picking.
こうだ。世間のイメージの話、ラボクは決してしかめっ面の顔がわりな人間なく、不気なピンボードだった。ラボク自身はユーモアをよく理解する人間では確かにあったな。うん。はいはいはい。よし。うん。なるほどね。
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling, but whose black recess, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal, through my and of as the ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze. That it was merely a for despite the moon. The writing was in several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to, but whose deep it was. Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes, or for grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were curious, for one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than him. I remarked, but in a moment, some awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring and with only
Dagon.
Loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith. about which it flung its gigantic scale. I think I went mad. Of my friend. I sang a great deal and laughed oddly. I have indistinct recollection, but when I came out of the ship, in my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific,
それ以外終わった。はい。ダゴンというタイトルをご視聴高い1%。批判を非難した。あと、12。はいはい。
once I but soon perceived.
マーケティング。よし。複雑。おー、あったあったあった。はい。ダオクタがマ・オブ・サイエンス、最初の方へ。ダオクタは、実際に使用するだろうと認めた。とか、サイエンティストはアーティストという単語と類似を作られた。そうだね。アートと芸術と科学は技術だからね。で
It is at night, especially when the... I tried more, but the drug... So now...
終わった。 からそのまま数字は、そうだね。6構成なんだ。
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantom, a mere freak of fever as I lay. This, I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment worship of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium. The end is near. It shall not
もう
find
最後の
me.
シーンですね。
God, that hand! The window! The window!
握手できねえ、ダゴンと。さあ、トリビア全部集まったやろ。集まったよな。あ。というわけでですね、ダーゴン、今日はここまでにしたいと思います。集まんなかったな。では、ここまでご視聴ありがとうございました。